ESPN, celebrating its 10th year as world leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Sonoma, California, in the Brown Hills north of San Francisco, the heart of California wine country. It's the home of Sears Point International Raceway and site of round 12 in the IMSA GTP Championship for 1989. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, welcoming you to Sears Point, where it has been an enormously sad weekend for all of us here at ESPN. Tom Blackhaller, America's Cup skipper and veteran Camel Lights race driver, was to have joined us in the announce booth for today's race. But tragically, last Thursday, while practicing to run an event here at Sears Point, Tom suffered a heart attack and passed away later that day. Our hearts go out to his wife, Chris, and the rest of Tom's family at this time, and we dedicate this broadcast to our colleague's memory. Nevertheless, there is a race to run today, and here with me to bring it to you, veteran IMSA car owner and Sears Point race winner, Rob Dyson. And Rob, with a Jaguar and a Nissan on the front row, this should be gangbusters.
Yeah, there's a lot at stake here today in this race. You've got two teammates, Chip Robinson and Jeff Brabham, running for a championship. And at the same time, you have two manufacturers, Jaguar and Nissan, fighting for a manufacturer's championship. Those ingredients, plus a lot of drivers here, want to do well at this race. It should make for a terrific event.
Price Cobb for Jaguar is not out of the championship running. Jan Lammers will start Price's car on the pole, and Rick DeBrule is standing by with him now.
There was a little change of plan here in the Jaguar camp. Originally, Jan Lammers was supposed to be starting the race. Instead, Price Cobb is going to be starting the car. Do you prefer the first stint or the second stint?
Well, probably neither, really, because there's a great deal of pressure for both. But I think they felt guilty. I think they felt guilty from San Antonio since I didn't get to drive either car, so they figured they ought to put me in.
Price Cobb starting on the pole.
Meanwhile, the man starting alongside Price Cobb is going to be this one, Jeff Brabham. Going to be a typical day at the office, right? All he has to worry about is a manufacturer's championship, also a points battle. Jeff, I guess the big question is, what is the strategy going into the race? Which is more important right now?
Well, I think we're just going to go out and do the best we can. That's going to be a very difficult race, and I think it's going to be critical on which teams chose the right tires and how they set the car up for the sunshine. So, you know, hopefully we've done a good job at that, but I think the Jaguar's going to give us a hard run today, so it's going to be flat out all the time.
One advantage Jeff Brabham might have, he's going alone. Could be quicker on the pit stops. Bob?
Through the brown hills of Sonoma, the 2.5 miles of Sears Point International Raceway wine, one of the most beautiful and challenging courses in the world, and Rob Dyson has a closer analysis.
Here you are crossing the start-finish in fifth gear, and you're heading up into turn one. This is a very important corner, but you're pushed down into the seat, up into turn two. Hard braking down into second gear. It's off camber. You want to make sure you don't spin the car out there as you accelerate to the twistiest part of the courses. 3 and 3A. There's 3 and 3A, and you want to make sure you don't put the outside of the car off the race course. Hard braking down into third gear to accelerate through turn 4, going into turn 5. Up into fourth gear, about 140 miles an hour. Hard on the brakes heading into the carousel and down into third gear. You stay on the inside of this corner because if you're on the outside during the race, it gets so slick you could be history. Out to the edge and along the straightaway of the race course, heading into turn 7. There's a lot of passing here, and it's a very important corner. Down into second gear, one of the slower corners. You accelerate very smoothly coming out of turn 7 because you want to make sure you approach the S's, turn 8, 8A, and 9. Slowly accelerating the car to get through it all, but keeping the balance of the car. Heading down through 9 into 10. This is the fastest corner on the track. You're doing over 150. Through the short chute, where you're the fastest part of the course, you're doing almost 170 miles an hour. Hard on the brakes into 11. You're only doing about 30 miles an hour into here. This is the staging area for the drag strip, and you want to make sure you come out of there very effectively without spinning the car. Then you cross start finish on your way for another lap.
And it is a very warm day here at Sears Point. The sun is beating down, and that is going to make this track extra treacherous, Rob.
Yeah, it should make a little bit of a difference, Bob, but it gets pretty slick out here anyway. This is a long race. There are a lot of cars on it, so it'll be exciting to watch.
Jaguar has put Price Cobb in the pole-sitting car after he wasn't able to drive a Jaguar last week in San Antonio when both cars crashed out of the race. Cobb needs to score points to get into that championship fight with the two Nissan drivers, and so he will start today in an effort to get back into the title fight. We'll be back to set up the grid and turn him loose here at Sears Point in a moment. 3, 2, 1, We're on board with Bob Wallach carrying one of our 2 in-car cameras today. The other will be aboard Jeff Brabham's Nissan in the number 2 spot. Wallach is gridded number 6, and you see just how close together these cars get as we get ready for the start. The cars have now formed up. It is Jaguar and Nissan across the front row as the green flag waves and we go racing. Bryce Cobb will take the early lead over Chip Robinson. Jeff Brabham falls in line with the identical 83 Nissan. It is Cobb, Robinson, Brabham. Excuse me, the 83 car has moved into second. It is Brabham that made a terrific start. It took over second place. Third, we've got a problem right at the top of the hill. The number 6 car, a brand new Porsche, fielded by a couple of, well, rookie GTP drivers. Greg Pickett, a former Trans Am sedan champion from Alamo, California. This is Bruce Canepa's car, previously owned by Bruce Levin's Bayside team and by Bernard Jourdain, the IndyCar Rookie of the Year this year. A total ground-up restoration. They're learning the car here at the racetrack, and they've got a problem early on. Meanwhile, up front, you saw the Jaguar of Bryce Cobb out front. This is the defending Camel GT champion, driving one of the world's finest race cars, a car that he knows better than any man on the planet, Australian Jeff Brabham, and you are aboard the Nissan 300ZX Turbo.
Price has really got the bit in his teeth. They've allowed him to start the car because I think they wanted to let a racer race for a change, which I think is commendable. It's the way we always did it, and it's important to let a guy have his lead. Price is doing a good job. He's pulled out a pretty good lead already.
Bryce Cobb drove for Rob Dyson's Porsche team, finishing second, and third. And Brabham got right up. I think he might have clonked one of the tire barriers. You saw a quick left-right shift in the steering wheel. So Jeff Brabham getting off to a rocky start here. Chip Robinson runs 4th, Jochen Mass 5th, and the Jaguar, the number 60 car, the V12 of John Nielsen, is off the racetrack.
That's Davy Jones in the car, and it's a little bit early to be doing that kind of stuff.
Jones and Nielsen from Denmark will share this machine, and it's a rough start for them as well. And one of the Camel Lights cars is also off the racetrack. This is all down in the turn 11 area where the Bondurant driving school here has its skid pad, bound to be a little bit slicker, and so Scott Atchison, an IndyCar veteran from Bakersfield, California, has also had an off and on. But this is your leader, Bryce Cobb, originally from the Dallas, Texas area, now running out of Evergreen, Colorado. I asked Bryce why he decided to move to Evergreen. He told me it sounded like a nice place to live. That makes a lot of sense. Wife Lisa and his 2 daughters no doubt looking on as Daddy goes to work here at Sears Point. 75 laps of action coming your way. And there is the Porsche of Bob Wallach off the racetrack. That's down in the turn 7 area. We're having trouble keeping anybody's wheels on the ground here. You're on board with Bob Wallach as he recovers from the spin, the Group C ace from Strasbourg, France. And that will put him a couple of places further back. Now let's go back and see one of these incidents up close. The Jaguar, number 60 of Davy Jones and John Nielsen, at the back of your screen, slides out of 11 and almost gets into the wall.
Davy was trying to get around Jochen Mass, who's driving the Bayside car, number 86, and he was just trying to get on the accelerator a little quick to get a shot. And again, you put the accelerator on too quickly coming out of that corner, and you're going to put the car around. It's as simple as that.
There is Bryce Cobb with a quick 3-second lead over Jeff Brabham in the Nissan. Michael Rowe, the Irish driver, standing by to relieve either Robinson or Brabham with a Nissan team. They drove together at the 24 Hours of Daytona earlier this year. Rowe used to hold the outright track record here on the 2.5-mile Sears Point race course in a Can-Am car until Jeff Brabham broke it a year ago in the Nissan. But right now, Bryce Cobb is doing his best to reset all of the records here at Sears.
You notice how smoothly he tries to get through that turn 7. That's a very important corner.
Back on board with Bob Wallach and the BF Goodrich Porsche, the Miller High Life machine for Jim Busby's team. And there is the air-cooled version of the same car. The 68 car has a water-cooled twin-turbo Porsche engine. This is the air-cooled single-turbo model that has won 51 Camel GT races over the years. At the keyboard, one of the finest Porsche racers or outright drivers of any kind in the world, Derek Bell from Pagham, England, the 2-time world champion. Let's go down to Marty Reed on the pit lane.
You were mentioning about Bob Wallach getting off course. They gambled yesterday in qualifying, went with a more moderate compound, a little stiffer than everybody else qualified with, and the reason for that was they were expecting higher temperatures here on the track. It is not yet the kind of heat that is conducive for this tire to really be cooking out there this early. That could be the reason Wallach took a spin.
Marty's right, Bob. It's entirely possible. It happened on the first lap, and he just the car might not have been just warmed up enough.
There is Derek Bell making his way around in the 67 machine. The 68 machine will be shared by Bob Wallach and young John Andretti. And there is the V12 normally aspirated 6-liter Jaguar shared by Davy Jones and John Nielsen. That was state-of-the-art just a year ago in Camel GT racing. This year, the Tom Walkinshaw team decided they needed a turbo car, so now Price Cobb has the 3-liter V6 turbo for the Jaguar team. But I got to tell you, the sound of that V12 Jaguar is worth hearing.
Yeah, the number of cylinders being and it's even got mufflers on it. The number of cylinders, they really scream, and even with mufflers, they're pretty loud.
In the early going, your leader is Price Cobb in the number 61 machine, followed by Jeff Brabham and Chip Robinson for Nissan. Fourth is Jochen Mass, the winner of this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans for Porsche. In fifth is Bob Wallach in the number 68 Miller High Life Porsche. We'll take a quick time out and come back after this. International Raceway, where you're watching the leader as he has been from the start of this IMSA Camel GT event. It is Price Cobb out of Evergreen, Colorado, starting the V6 Turbo Jaguar for the Tom Walkinshaw Racing Team. The Caswell Jaguars expected to do better this year than they have. They have been looking for victories, finally got one in Portland 2 races ago. That, of course, the infamous premature checkered flag race. With 3 laps to go, everyone, including leader Price Cobb, was surprised to see the checkers come out. They continued to race. Jeff Brabham got by for Nissan to take the victory, but it was finally awarded to Jaguar on the basis of the early checkered flag. There is the second place car, Jeff Brabham, the defending Camel GT champion, who has closed up now on Cobb. Cobb set a blistering pace early on, but now you can see the gap is about 10 car lengths. Down through the turn 9 area. Now they'll head into turn 10. Fastest turn on the racetrack, pulling incredible G-forces as they bend that car around, foot flat on the floor, headed towards turn 11.
This could be the difference in tires working, I think, at this stage of the race.
The Jaguar is on Dunlop tires from England. The Nissan is on Goodyears from Dayton, Ohio. Or is it Akron, Ohio? Forget. Anyway, Big Blue, the Goodyears on the Nissan.
Akron, Bob.
Okay, thank you, Rob. You are with Jeff Brabham as he tries to overtake. Recall a year ago when it was Brabham against John Nielsen in the V12 normally aspirated Jaguar. Martin Brundle had put Jaguar out front. Brabham ran down his teammate Nielsen to take the lead in turn 11, that tight hairpin you just saw earlier. And there you can see the leading car of Price Cobb out front as Jeff Brabham stalks him.
This carousel is a very exciting corner to go around, and they're staying inside, as you'll notice. You don't want to go outside on that kind of a corner. Here's one of your faster parts of the course. A lot of passing and a lot of overtaking here. And it was, as we've seen, a little bit of body contact too.
The slower car moves aside, allowing the faster cars through. Now there's the BFG Porsche. This is Bob Wallach at the wheel through turn 11. Now the gentle left-hander of 12 and across the start-finish line. 2 years ago in 1987, right here on the racetrack, Bob Wallach's car cut a tire, a rear tire, spun the car around, and he flipped 5 times in the most spectacular accident ever seen here at Sears Point. We had that race on ESPN. And you'll recall as they got Bob Wallach out of the car and everybody wondered what his condition might be, his teammate Jochen Mass, driving for another Porsche, pulled up and asked the crew what his World Sports Car Championship teammate's condition might be. As relieved as the rest of us to find out that Wallach was okay except for a separated shoulder, Jochen Mass went on, put his foot down, and won the race.
Even though you race against these guys on a racetrack, you sure don't want anybody to get hurt, and you know, you just want good close racing, and you don't want your competition eliminated by either accidents and injuries or even mechanical failure. You want to go out and go head to head and beat them that way. So you cut down on the excuses that way, especially if you win.
Right. Want to beat the guys on the racetrack. The number 83 car of Jeff Brabham, second in points, 194 points for Chip Robinson, presently shown in 4th position on the racetrack, to the 189 points for Brabham. Price Cobb in 3rd with 159, the only man with a realistic shot at the championship other than the Nissan teammates.
These two cars are both turbocharged V6s. It's interesting to see how they duct the cars differently to get the heat out of them. When you turbocharge an engine, it gets very hot. It's interesting to see how they've handled the radiator and the oil cooler setup. You can see on the Nissan the immense scoops in the front and the scoops in the rear and even the outlets on the side. With the Jaguar, you can see how they've done it a different way with slightly different nose configuration to get more air going through the go through and over the nose, and also some more stuff on the side with some side ducting as well.
They generate a lot of downforce, which allows them to go through the turns relatively quicker as opposed to their opposition. If you were with us a week ago in San Antonio, you saw a miraculous finish for Nissan. The 83 and 84 cars of Robinson and Brabham made contact and spun off at the very first turn of the race. Brabham eventually lost the engine in his car, while Robinson went on to win the race, and with it pass his teammate, the recognized team leader Brabham, for the points lead. Jeff has now lost his lead, and we asked him how he feels about the situation.
It's only 5 points, so you know, if I win and Chip comes second, we're equal. So you know, as I said, we'll just go out there and do our best. And you know, our #1 goal right now is to make sure Nissan win the manufacturers championship, and we're pretty close to doing that. You know, once that's wrapped out, who knows?
Who knows indeed. With a couple of races still to go at Tampa, Florida and Del Mar, California, it'll be interesting to watch these guys battle for the championship and to see if Bryce Cobb can bring Jaguar back into it. Earlier this week, the two teammates for Nissan, Brabham and Robinson, were joking. They like to put little cartoons on their car. And on the 83 car of Brabham was a little number 84 in the circle and red bar that we use to designate no something or other, no smoking, no buffoons, no what have you. No number 84 was on Brabham's car. And look at the gap to the number 61. That is the leader, Bryce Cobb for Jaguar. Behind him, Jeff Brabham.
Jeff is not cutting him any slack today. They both want to do well at this race for a variety of reasons.
Of the 26 cars that started, you see the number remaining on the lead lap. It is Jaguar with Bryce Cobb over Jeff Brabham. Jochen Mass still runs third for Porsche. Chip Robinson fourth for Nissan. Willie T. Ribbs fifth for Toyota, followed by Costas Loss in a Pontiac. Bob Wallach for Porsche. Drake Olson in a Toyota. Davy Jones in the second team Jaguar. And Jim Miller with his normally aspirated 6-liter Chevy in a Spice chassis running in 10th position.
As these two cars get closer and closer, Price had better not take turn 7 as wide as he just did. Jeffrey will go right underneath him and get right around him.
Keep in mind that the real advantage of the Nissan is in the turns. There is the third place car of Jochen Mass, whose number we haven't called much this week yet.
This is the oldest chassis on a race course of the top running GTP cars. This car was built in probably middle of 86. And Jochen, it's a tribute to Jochen and the Bayside crew that they've done as well as they have. It's an excellent job that he's doing in a car that frankly is a little outmoded compared to some of the other guys that are alleged to be driving more sophisticated cars. But Jochen's a fabulous driver, and the Bayside crew is an excellent crew. So those are two good ingredients coupled with a good car to do well here, and look for them to stick around during the whole race. They've got a good pit work. They know what they're doing there, so it'll be interesting to watch it.
And Jochen Mass, of course, one of the best drivers you could have behind the wheel of your Porsche. Walter Gerber and the crew keeping Bruce Levin's car on track. Meanwhile, up front, this is the turbocharged Jaguar. Tony Dow, the team manager, keeping track of the Jags, who brought only 2 cars to Sears Point after last week's race in San Antonio, in which Michel Ferté, the Frenchman, suffered a big accident. In fact, was clobbered by James Weaver accidentally after Ferté spun and blocked the racetrack, knocking out a Porsche and a Jaguar from this week's event. Bryce Cobb remains your leader. We'll be back. We have a pass at Sears Point. Jeff Brabham gets underneath Bryce Cobb. Cobb comes back, but the Nissan spools up a little quicker, and Brabham will maintain the lead. Jeff Brabham struck in turn 11, lined himself up perfectly, and squeezed under Bryce Cobb. Now he must do the stalking as he chases Brabham up to turn 2.
That was a very clean pass right down in turn 11, and you'll notice that both of those guys exercised some restraint.
Let's take another look at how it happened.
Just passing a light car. Here he is right underneath.
And Jeff Brabham has been taking that line right down there on the tires all weekend long. This time it worked for him when he needed to. Right out to the pit wall he goes. Both drivers with their feet on the floor, but the Nissan came up to speed a little bit quicker. And now Jeff Brabham has the lead in about a 4-car length margin.
Price was concentrating on that Camel Light car that they were coming up on. That's one of the responsibilities you got as a leader. And Jeff took advantage of that, just getting a little bit underneath him and just pulling a very clean pass.
So now we'll see whether Jeff Brabham has, well, we got a spinner right there. That's the number 3 car of Russ Dodson, Rex Ramsey, and Dean Hall, spun and not going anywhere down there just above turn 7. Cleanly off the racing line, but they're not going to allow that car to stay there, I would imagine.
That was just a lazy turn. Didn't look like he made any contact with anything. Now he's got to pay attention to the corner workers to make sure that when he pulls around, he doesn't hit anybody else. That's...
At this point, we see local yellow flags only. No yellow flag at the start-finish line as Jeff Brabham comes streaming through in the 83 Nissan. Your order is now Brabham, Cobb, Moss, Robinson, and Ribbs. 18 laps complete here at Sears Point. You look out the windshield of the Nissan as he quickly disposes of a Camel Lights machine. And you can see just how much work he goes through. To the left of the dashboard, the green light indicates that his cool suit is working, and Brabham is going to need that suit as the day goes on. Through a reservoir system, cold water is circulated to a vest and cap that the driver wears under his uniform, and they will really need it as the temperatures continue to climb here at Sears Point. Rob, the big problem with those suits, the drivers tell us, is when they don't work.
Well, I drove here in '86, and I can tell you on this race course, which is physically the most demanding race course on the GTP circuit, when one of those cool suits goes out anywhere, it's difficult, but especially here, because you're never relaxing. There's no place on this course to collect your thoughts at all.
There you see the gap from first to second, the 83 Nissan to the 61 Jaguar. Let's go down to the pit lane now and Marty Reed.
Well, the pits are probably the worst place ever to watch an auto race from, but we can find out what's going on at least with the Jaguars because they've got a computerized system which gives an automatic readout from the car itself. In fact, we can tell you right now it's 5,700 RPM, now 7,000. So obviously we know the car's in a... The one thing it won't tell you, however, is that they just got passed for first place.
And that's what we're here for on Speed World, to show you the passes. Price, Cobb, Jan Lammers put this car on the pole. They're allowed 2 laps in single car qualifying. Lammers said after his first laps, as we see the number 68 car of Bob Wallach back in the Miller pits once again. And this time it looks a little more serious than just a rubber problem. Let's go down to Rick DeBrule.
Well, that's right. They came in. There was a driver change. John Andretti is now in the car. Bob Wallach got out, but it was done very slowly. Now they're sitting in a situation where they've done all the work on the car, and they're just waiting for a moment before they send him out. Obviously, something amiss before they send him out. He's back out on the track. We'll try and get hold of Bob Wallach and find out what the problem is.
Early indications are a misfire in the engine. Could be something having to do with the electronic engine management system. John Andretti into the race car now. And he'll be making his way along well down in the pack. He was shown in 12th position when they pitted the car. And now John Andretti goes out probably well in arrears of that.
It's a water-cooled engine that Porsche has run very well over in Europe, but somehow for IMSA, they're just not able to push the boost through it or run as much fuel as they can in this kind of engine. And it's been a problem for them a lot this season. I can tell you they're working on it, but it's not doing them any good this morning this afternoon if they've got a misfire this early on.
The Porsches, like the other turbocharged cars in the series, including the Nissan of our leader Jeff Brabham, carry turbo restrictors, little rings that limit the amount of air allowed into the turbochargers, one of the ways IMSA uses to equalize the competition between the more powerful turbos and the normally aspirated machines. And there's been a lot of talk about whether the 54mm restrictors on the single turbo cars and the pair of 38mm restrictors on the twin turbo cars are just choking all of the excitement out of the cars. Hasn't been the case thus far. Let's go back to the pit lane.
Well, Bob Wallach, it's awful early for you to be in the pits. What went wrong?
Well, we're still experimenting with this new car and car settings, and we went very stiff on the front springs because it makes the car nicer to drive, but obviously it's hard on tires.
And that was the problem?
So we blistered tires on the front because first of all, the springs are too stiff for this track. And second, we decided on a compound which we knew was going to be marginal. But I mean, to win, sometimes you have to gamble.
Any problems with a misfire at all?
I was misfiring early on, but then we turned the boost down. I had a little bit too much boost for the start.
And so Bob Wallach now out of the race. Springs a little too big in the front end, I gather.
Well, you can overspring a car. There's no doubt about it. And if you overspring it, you can put a lot of pressure on the tires. And that's the kind of mistake that they could have tested out. And it's one of those things that, you know, in a race conditions, things change. And that's a tough break for not only Bob, but John as well.
John Andretti now at the keyboard of the number 68 Miller Porsche. Meanwhile, up front, it is Jeff Brabham well out front. Bryce Cobb continues the pursuit in second, followed by Jochen Mass in third, Chip Robinson fourth, Willie T. Ribbs fifth, Costas Lowe sixth, Derek Bell in the 67 car is seventh, followed by Toyota in eighth, Jaguar in ninth, and Chevrolet in 10th position. There is the gap, your leader, with the number 61 of Bryce Cobb just coming into the picture from behind. Taking a wide turn through number 7 and up onto what they call the back straightaway here at Sears Point. It's not really straight at all. We'll be back after this. Raceway, you're watching the number 63 Camel Lights car. This is Jim Downing from Atlanta, Georgia, the leader in the Camel Lights class for smaller, non-turbocharged prototype cars. This is the car he calls kudzu, violating the tradition that says you will not have a green race car. Jim Downing trying to move up in the Camel Lights points. He presently stands fourth behind Scott Schubert, Charles Morgan, and Tom Hessert in a dandy battle for the Camel Lights Championship. Downing is a three-time champion. He developed this class for smaller, less expensive cars, won the first 3 championships, gave up last year's to Tom Hessert, and he's back in the thick of it once again.
The green race car issue has been put to bed by Lotus in '65 at Indianapolis, and then again by the Porsche team in their Indy car. Now they've won one. There was even word that the Penske car with the Miller logo, which had some green in it, in CART might be a problem, but they obviously disproved that as well.
Where does the tradition come from, Rob? Do you know?
I'm not sure. There's another tradition related to peanuts and peanut shells that goes back a long, long way.
Well, never let the facts get in the way of a good story. I like the idea of no green race cars. This is the battle for third place in the open class. This is Jochen Mass just going out of the picture to the right, being overtaken by Chip Robinson, running in 4th position.
Well, he's not being overtaken, but he's sure getting closer. Jochen's doing a good job, but through the S's, but that Nissan is obviously stalking him.
Racing philosophers say overtaking is one thing, passing is another.
That's right.
Jochen Mass, who won Le Mans this year, his first victory in the 24 hours driving for Mercedes. A week ago at Donington Park in England, Mercedes won the World Championship for teams. Jochen Mass will finish the season second in the World Championship for sports car drivers, but he loves to race in the United States, and he's here driving for his old friend Bruce Levin, crew chief Walter Gerber, and all the guys from Bayside Racing in the Haviland Porsche 962. And right now he has got mirrors full of Chip Robinson in the number 84 Nissan.
That Camel Light kind of held him up. It wasn't doing any bad driving, but the Camel Light clearly in that section of the course, it was hard to get around him, and that enabled Chip to close right up on him as well.
Working traffic here at Sears Point. Another Camel Lights car is put to sleep.
Jochen's an excellent driver and a very, very talented one, and also a really fine gentleman. He has 2 boys, 11 and 9.
Runs a charter boat down in the Caribbean, does Jochen Mass. Originally from West Germany, now living in Monte Carlo, no doubt for tax reasons. Makes a fine living racing sports cars all over the world. But says he particularly likes running the Camel GT Series. A former winner in this event back in 1987.
That was one of the great races here, too, 87. We were in the thick of that one as well.
Gradually, Robinson moves up a little bit closer. If he's going to get him, it's likely to be under braking in turn 11. This is turn 9 to the left, turn 10 to the right. Let's see if the 84 Nissan moves underneath. Looks like nope, had a notion, but Maas, he gets a wheel inside of him. Nope. Close moment there, and now he's got the slower number 9 Camel Lights car in front of him. But he gets around safely, and it'll be another corner before Chip Robinson will have another chance. I mentioned at the beginning of last week's race in San Antonio, a near disaster came for Nissan when Robinson and Brabham collided and both spun. We asked Chip whether that incident continues to play on his mind.
Well, certainly, you know, I can't tell you how badly I felt when that happened, but, you know, it was one of those things. And, you know, saying here, when a guy's short brake should go into the first corner, those things happen.
Do you replay that in your mind?
No, not anymore, because it all turned out well. I would say probably if it hadn't turned out the way it has,
Ever since, though,
I don't know if I would have shown my face again.
So is it true after it happened, the first thing you said is, do I still have a job? Is that right?
Certainly, that's what I thought.
I can tell you there was more luck running with that team that day with that incident than any 10 race teams have ever accumulated in any one single incident. I can tell you they were both lucky that they didn't at least take a corner off a car or bend up some body work. That was a fortunate thing, the way all the molecules seemed to move around the race course.
Well, I could tell you they did take a couple of things off the cars. Those happen to be our in-car cameras that were on Brabham's machine. Once again, Chip Robinson looks to the inside, and this time he gets it done.
Jochen let him by. He knew that he was a quicker car, and it's early enough in the race. Jochen doesn't want to cause any trouble. Chip pulled a good pass on him.
So move Robinson up into the 3rd spot, demoting Moss to 4th. And your order is Brabham, Cobb, Robinson, Moss, and Costas Los. And the Pontiac Spice has now moved up into 5th position ahead of Willie T. Ribbs for Toyota. Derek Bell still running in 7th in a Porsche. 8th is Toyota, 9th is Jaguar, 10th is Chevrolet. Now there is the battle for 6th. The number 99 car, Willie T. Ribbs, the new Dan Gurney designed and built Toyota Eagle, as opposed to the Group C design of the other car on that team. And right behind him is Derek Bell, all over him in the 67 Porsche.
This will be interesting because you got Willie Ribbs, who's not only learning a new car, but learning a new series and a new driving technique with the GTP car, being followed and, may I say, harried by a real pro in Derek Bell, who's obviously raced these cars for eons. And it'll be interesting to see how they both made up with one another. Hopefully it'll continue to be this interesting. It's a terrific race they're having.
Willie T. Ribbs won many races here at Sears Point. It is basically his home track, being from the San Jose area. Willie says despite all of the races he won and as fast as he ever went driving for Dan Gurney's GTO sedan team and Toyota Celicas, coming out here in the GTP car, he is lapping 11 seconds quicker than he ever did in a GTO sedan. Now, Willie and his teammates suffered a setback last week, but still Willie T. feels that the Toyota team has momentum on their side.
The car has been getting better and better. I think since Road America, we've been going quicker and quicker, and we've been learning more and more. And I think we found a baseline. Now we got to fine-tune it. We were good at San Antonio. We led a little while. And now we're here in Sears Point, so if we can just keep the momentum going, we'll be happy.
Boy, they had quite a moment in that San Antonio race. Willie T. was actually leading the event when the engine cover came off the car. Air got underneath, and that sucker just ripped up into the air and disintegrated. Pretty spectacular stuff. While Willie T. continues to lead the battle with Derek Bell for 6th place on the racetrack, there is your leader, Jeff Brabham, having passed a slower Camel Lights car. That's what it looks like from the inside. Climbing to turn 2, sun glaring off the smooth pavement here at Sears Point. A little bit of a correction as he goes all the way out to the far side of the racetrack in turn 2, dives downhill into 3. We're going to take a quick timeout. Jeff Brabham remains your leader in the GTP class with 28 laps completed of 75 coming. Jim Downing leads Camel Lights. Where Jeff Brabham has flicked on the headlights of his number 83 Nissan 300ZX Turbo. The better for the cars he overtakes to see him approaching in their mirrors. Brabham with a typically meticulous drive. A year ago, he set a record 8-race victory streak, and the 8th one came right here at Sears Point. Here's the battle for 6th place once again. It's Willie T. Ribbs in the Toyota, holding off Derek Bell in the number 67 Miller High Life Porsche. This racetrack was the site of Dan Gurney's last IndyCar race back in 1970. Willie T. Ribbs was a 13-year-old spectator then. We have a driver change in the pits among the 2nd and 3rd place drivers in Camel Lights. Let's go down to Rick.
Well, this is car number 9, the car that Tom Hessert and Charles Morgan have been sharing over the weekend. A very frustrating weekend for them because they came here, they had to put this new car together, and it has not been sorted out properly. They say it's way overweight. It's going to take a few weeks to go back to the shop and rebuild it before they're going to be able to get it back in a competitive form. Morgan has been running it early. He is now getting out of the car. Tom Hessert is in. They've taken off the back half of the car, and once again, it looks like it's going to be a long day before this race is over for these gentlemen.
Well, remember, this is the car that was crashed last week in San Antonio. In fact, only the back of it is the car that was crashed. The front is the Pontiac Spice that was grafted on by the Essex Racing team under team manager Mike Gouet, who put that car back together. It is a part Pontiac Spice with Buick engine, and making the transfer from Pontiac to Buick Power has put them in the thick of it here in Lights, but they are struggling right now. Derek Bell in the single turbo flat 6 air-cooled Porsche 962 that he has driven to so many victories in so many far corners of the world in his many years as a factory driver for the Porsche team. Always a big favorite on the Camel GT Series. Now he has taken over 5th place, passing Willie T. Ribbs. Costas Los in the Pontiac has pitted. And so now your order is Brabham, Nielsen, Robinson, Davy Jones, Robinson, and there is Price Cobb now in the pits. Let's get caught up with the action in the Jaguar pits with Marty Reed.
Well, Jan Lammers is going in, Price Cobb is coming out, and this is the one thing that's going to be debated. The driver change cost Jaguar last year in the minds of many people as far as victory was concerned. I asked him earlier before the race, they said, in typical British style, well, we employ 2 drivers, so we'll use 2 drivers. They're in and out and underway.
Well, they'd go through the shift like that anyway. Price has just finished his normal stint, so they'll put Jan in, and it's their strategy is a lot more firm than just the fact that they've got a lot of people employed.
A little bit of an early pit stop for the Jaguar team, less than 50 minutes into the race, which is expected to go some 2 hours.
Bell looked like he slowed up a little.
The 67 car, Derek Bell's definitely slowing. Passed quickly by the Jaguar Turbo. Let's see if we can catch up with the 67 car. There he is coming to the back of your screen. Maybe just missed a shift or something. Looks like he may be back up to speed once again.
He sure pulled out of it for a minute there. Here's Jan going around. It'll take him just a half a lap or something to get acclimated, and then he'll start standing on it in his inimitable fashion.
I was going to say, Jan Lammers probably takes a little less time than that to warm up. I think he gets out of bed at full speed in the morning. He is really quick.
Quite a guy, far diminutive, but quick with the right foot.
In fact, the 61 Jaguar, now being driven by Lammers, was directed by Price Cobb to the lead for the first 17 laps of the race, then was taken over by the Nissan of Jeff Brabham, who has led since then for another 17 laps. So we have 34 complete of 75 laps coming your way today here on ESPN. There you see Jan Lammers from the Netherlands, once an instructor in the famous skid school, a racing school at Zandvoort, Holland. The number 98 Toyota behind him. That is Juan Manuel Fangio, nephew of what many people think was the greatest driver, certainly in Formula One of all time, 5-time world driving champion Juan Manuel Fangio.
He drove when ground effects was not developed, when fat men raced on skinny tires.
For the greater glory. One for Maserati, one for Ferrari, one for any numbers of teams. Once reset the lap record at the old long Nürburgring 14 times in a single race. In fact, the last 14 laps. A lot of action on pit road. Derek Bell has now climbed out of the 67 car, and I would gather that means Bob Wallach has climbed in. Bell in the striped helmet back there, removing his helmet. And I would guess that's Bob Wallach now in the number 67 car. In fact, we have confirmation. Wallach has climbed in to the air-cooled single turbo Porsche, as opposed to the water-cooled twin-turbo number 68 machine in that same Miller Beer livery. Jim Miller's car is also in the pit lane, as is Willie T. Ribbs in the Toyota. As we watch Bob Wallach making his way around. Wallach, ironically, is a Jaguar dealer back in his native Strasburg. I asked him earlier this year if he ever had thoughts about driving for Jaguar. He says, in fact, I called Tom Walkinshaw earlier this year, and he never called me back, so I just take every opportunity to give him a hard time. Now that Derek Bell is out of the car, let's hear from him with Marty Reed.
Well, we thought that Derek Bell might go the distance today. You did mention one thing about a very sore shoulder from tennis. Is that what brought you out?
Oh, no, I was fine. I never even got around to putting the cool hat on.
So was this the planned maneuver then?
No, just the bob had changed early for John, so he may as well carry on and put a bit of effort in. But I was actually fine. I was like clockwork.
Well, you are known for cooking in the car. It doesn't seem to be hot out here. What was it like inside?
Well, as I say, it was fine. I had a lovely air duct right on my face. And I didn't, you know, as I say, even put the cool suit on. So it must have been all right if I don't have to put the cool suit on.
So Bob Wallach now in the number 67 Miller High Life Porsche.
Yeah, thanks.
And I wonder if he might not be more comfortable in this car. As you see Wallach quickly carving his way through traffic. I think maybe the Frenchman's substantial pride might have been injured by his lack of performance in the twin-turbo water-cooled car. Maybe he'd like to show something in the single-turbo machine for Jim Busby. A great athlete, a world-class skier in his younger days. 46-year-old Bob Wallach is still a tenacious tennis player. And I think Bruce Levin has lost a few bucks to him on the court. Bob Wallach now making his way around well back in the pack after that driver change with Derek Bell. Here is the number 83 Nissan. Speaking of clockwork, this guy invented the term and embodies it in Camel GT racing. Looking for the team's 9th victory of the season, Jeff Brabham. He is your leader. His teammate Chip Robinson is second, and there are problems in the Toyota pits. Here's Marty.
Well, we've got both Toyotas in the pit at the same time. The number 99 Toyota has been in here for over a lap. They are working on the back end of it. It looks as though they may have a spark plug or something fouled. They're not being able to get it fired. Meanwhile, Juan Manuel Fangio brings the other Toyota in, and they're trying to split the crews to make sure they get the stops done and get the 98 back out there.
One of the things they got to be careful when both cars come in is to make sure they don't violate the IMSA rule with too many guys over the wall.
Now our leader is in. Here is Jeff Brabham with what we anticipate will be his one and only pit stop. His left hand goes up to the fuel meter to reset it, so he always has an accurate indication of how much fuel is in the car. A moment ago I said going for their 9th victory. Let me correct that. Going for their 10th victory of the season. Let's hear from Rick DeBrule.
This is indeed a routine stop. Talked with Ashley Page, crew chief, just a few moments ago. He said this is strictly routine. Put fuel, put the tires in. They have a firm philosophy. When you change a tire, you change all 4. He's taking a little bit longer on the tail end, but he is back out on the track.
Big indicator when you go through a pit stop is when the car goes down on the ground, you start putting her masher into gear and get going. That's the primary signal that we boys used, and it seems like most everybody else does as well.
Well, we had a problem earlier this year at Portland when Chip Robinson in this car, the number 84 machine, was in fact given that signal. The car came down, but they hadn't disengaged the fuel hose yet. And those of you who watched that event sat on the edge of your seats with the rest of us as the fuel hose trailed Robinson out of the pit. Fortunately, nobody seriously hurt. The hose eventually became detached on the racetrack, but boy, that was a close moment.
That was a very lucky period of time.
Now here's the V12 Jaguar in the pits, and Rick is there.
It is rush hour in pit lane. Right now, the number 60 Jaguar has come in. Davy Jones has gotten out. He is fastening up all the belts for John Nielsen, who's going to go back out. Hand is up. The tires have been fitted. The fuel is off. They are now trying to fit that flat that goes over the rear tire. They've got that done, and John Nielsen is back out.
Boy, he's out with a vengeance, too. He's got the hammer down and nearly twitched it there.
They call those flaps spats, and it apparently helps the ground effects on the automobile, and they've been more successful in holding them on the car than a lot of other people have.
You'll notice over the rear wheels where the colors don't stop, there are the spats on the car. Now here's Chip Robinson coming in. He was in second place. Excuse me, he was in the lead after his teammate Jeff Brabham pitted. He parks it right in front of the cone, and the team goes to work. Here's Rick.
And once again, right next door to where the Jaguar just pitted, the Nissan has come in. Still just standard pit stop. They are simply changing the 4 tires. They're putting in the fuel. Once again, the fuel that flows so much faster, as Bob was mentioning earlier here, than it does in the Group C races over in Europe. This is a relatively fast pit stop. They're getting the windshield clean. Hands are up. The car is down. And Chip Robinson now back out on the track.
Wes Moss calling the shots for Chip Robinson's pit stop. Ashley Page, the overall crew chief, is handling Jeff Brabham's car this weekend, and nobody does these pit stops faster than the Electromotive Nissan team. The Kodak people sponsor a pit stop. The Kodak Copiers Pit Crew Contest, a part of each Camel GT weekend, and the 2 fastest times turned in thus far this year in that pit stop contest are by the 2 Electromotive Nissan cars, 83 and 84. They'll shoot it out later this year for a nice fat $20,000 prize. You're back aboard with Jeff Brabham. As we watch the defending Camel GT champion at work, Chip Robinson was your leader before that pit stop. We'll get things resorted when we return to Sears Point. Jeff Brabham leads the race, and with a first or second place by either he or teammate Chip Robinson, Nissan will clinch that long-awaited and much sought-after manufacturer's championship. Over the years, this car has taken a beating. They called it fast but unreliable in the early going. They crashed more often than they finished in their first year or two, but Don Devendorf stayed with it. Kaz Kasner came on as Nissan's Motorsports manager in North America, and he stayed the program as well. They have gradually brought the car around, and right now it is the most dominating machine in any form of racing this side of the McLarens in Formula One, which is probably not the thing to say considering they got beaten at Monza this weekend with Nigel Mansell. I mean, excuse me, they got, no, cross finish. They are dominating. That's right, Bob. And I'm supposed to know what I'm talking about in that series.
They came close. They came second.
There you see the number 61 now being handled by Jan Lammers of the Netherlands. Jan's running in second position. Getting back to Brabham for a moment, his lead, if it holds up, will be his 18th victory in 2 seasons on the Camel GT trail. That will break a record that he shares with one of the great names of Camel GT racing, Peter Gregg. Let's go down to the pit lane one more time.
Well, we're standing here with Price Cobb, who just got out of that number 61 machine. And Price, you guys were hoping that the clouds would have stuck around. You say the tires went away on you.
Yeah, the tires died on the 7th lap and made it real difficult to drive. We were intended to come in a little earlier to change them, except that for a while there I was holding my own with him. Even after he got by me, he wasn't really getting away. But traffic didn't work in my behalf. The worst problem, you know, to get around traffic, you need to get off in slow turns well, which is the one thing I couldn't do. And, you know, numerous of the light cars managed to do their normal deed and get in the way, and that really cost us.
So are you still on the same compound?
No, we've changed compounds. They'd made a gamble in practice. It had worked real well on the tire we were on, and it just looks like maybe the track surface is a little hotter than it was yesterday. And, you know, what can I say? The track's changed a little bit.
So we'll have to wait and see if Jan Lammers can reel him in.
Well, this is one of the things with practice and a race. It changes, and that's what makes racing. You can have a setup that works great in practice, put you on a pole. During the race, some of the characteristics of the race course from other races or from just oil from the existing cars that you're racing against can dramatically affect the surface. And in tire technology being what it is, you can't always meet every eventuality. Tough break. I thought that might have been the problem early on.
And having taking over, Jan Lammers, the number 61 car, circulating in second position, about 15 seconds down to your leader, Jeff Brabham. Up the hill he goes into turn 2. Hard on the gas, over the brow, downhill into turn 3 and 3A.
His car doesn't seem to be working very well, based on the way it was with Price earlier on.
This is turn 4, the sharp right-hander, and a downhill run to the right-hander at turn 5. And then uphill and over the brow, and then downhill to the sweeping left-hander, turn 6, the carousel.
This is a turbo car that's in essence brand new in racing terms. They've had it about 6 months. They started from scratch in a turbo car, never having run one before, either here or in Europe. And they've done a very good job to evolve it as quickly as they have.
Now there is the number 3 car, 84 on the side of the machine. Third on the racetrack is Chip Robinson, the points leader in the series. He is 5 points behind his teammate Jeff Brabham with 20 points to win, 16 for second, 14 for third, 12 for fourth, 10th for fifth, and then 1 point separating the rest of the positions through 15th. Robinson will be trying to stay close to his teammate, who is leading at this point, to maintain his edge in the Drivers' Championship. Interesting that this ride that Chip Robinson has was originally offered to Bryce Cobb after some midwinter testing. Cobb elected to go with the Jaguar team in part because it was made clear to him that with the electromotive Nissan, he would be the #2 driver to Jeff Brabham. Bryce said no thanks. They asked Chip Robinson. He said, I'll do it. And right now, Chip Robinson, ironically, is leading the series over his own teammate. There's the number 68 machine. John Andretti still at the controls. We'll ride with him for a little bit, looking out the windshield, the Porsche 962C, which designates it as a twin-turbo, water-cooled flat-six engine.
This is one of the great sections of the course right down here. This is turn 4. And then you accelerate right up to 4th gear. You're really cooking here. You're probably doing about 140 just as you reach the brow. Hard on the brakes, down into 3rd gear. You stay very close to the inside of the race circuit on this corner because the outside's got a lot of rubber and dust and all that. On to probably the only straightaway where you can kind of take a different breath than you normally do.
Meaning a normal one. Meanwhile, our Camel Lights leader is in the pits. Jim Downing climbs out. His teammate Howard Katz from New York, climbs in. Notice the apparatus around Jim's head. That was designed by his brother, who is an engineer at Michigan State University. It's a prototype design that keeps the helmet from moving too far in any direction, restricts the movement of the helmet, and thereby protects against neck injuries in drivers in the event of a collision. And so the Kudzu Mazda Argo comes back out onto the racetrack. Howard Katz now at the controls.
I understand they were going to make that available after they had worked on it, and I'll be interested to find out sometime whether Jim is planning to market that. Here's number 4, Scott Schubot.
Schubot, who was on the pole in the Camel Lights class for the 9th time this season, is now the points leader in Camel Lights. A week ago, with their victory in San Antonio, they won the manufacturer's title in the Lights class for Buick. Marty Reed has more from the pits.
Well, we're standing with Linda Ludeman, who co-drives with Scott Schubot, and the big question is, you know, IMSA rules require that there is a driver change for at least 2 laps. This is your first time here, and you were saying this has been a real nightmare of experience for you.
This track definitely has gotten me scared. I respect the S's a lot, and my times unfortunately show how much I respect the S's because I'm about 5 seconds slower than Scott is.
So you have to make a change. When will you do it?
Probably towards the end. Unless there's a long yellow, we'll probably just pop me in right at the end.
And if it's a close race, good luck.
I'll put my foot down.
Linda Ludeman, the only female in Camel GT Lights racing right now. She took the Bondurant driving course here at Sears Point. She said something interesting afterward. She said, I learned that it's a racetrack that really separates the girls from the boys. I wonder what she meant by that.
Well, it's a tough race circuit, not only physically, but mentally. You've got to constantly stay a little bit ahead of it. And of all the race circuits in the GTP racing series, this race course is actually, I find it probably one of the more fun ones, but it's very demanding mentally and physically. And I can understand that if you can be behind on it, you'll never catch up.
Jochen Maas calls it the best racing circuit in America. Sears Point International Raceway, 2.5 miles around, 12 turns, and hardly a one of them either straight or level.
Boy, that's true. You can see the elevation changes right now, as a matter of fact, as you watch the Jaguar Jan Lammers going through. You can see these guys are really physically working themselves very, very hard.
Now here's the battle for second place. It is Jan Lammers in the turbocharged Jaguar, trying to hold off the turbocharged Nissan of Chip Robinson. Twin turbo Jaguar, single turbo Nissan V6.
The Jaguar is utilizing carbon fiber brakes, which are little discs that look like, when they're fresh, they look like little kind of pressed wafers.
Records, yeah.
Yeah, like pressed wafers, and the Nissan is using the standard cast iron brake discs, which are a little heavier, but are a more proven commodity.
Right now, should Robinson in the 84 car remain in 3rd place, he will lose his points lead to his teammate Jeff Brabham by 1, but he takes the outside line going into 11. Now will he try to dip under?
Sometimes you try to cross somebody and get a better shot. Doesn't always work, and it doesn't really work on that part of the course. There's some corners where you can take the outside line and then cross your man up and get by him.
There is the Lights car of Scott Schubot making way for the Jaguar. Now he must pull into line for turn 2, and then he'll slide over and let Chip Robinson go by again. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll return for more GTP action from Sears Point. But they're fighting an up-here battle today here at Sears Point. Your leader is Jeff Brabham in the number 83 Nissan. Behind him, Jan Lammers is doing his best to hold off Brabham's teammate, Chip Robinson. This is the view outside the Nissan windshield. Jeff Brabham hard at work. He has been in this car since the beginning. Took over second place at the green light, made a pit stop, came back on the lead, and has held it ever since. Here is the battle for second place. Robinson in the 84 car to the outside. He has already punted the Jaguar once, looking for a way by. Couldn't find it that time in turn 11.
He's really right on Jan, and you can see where they kind of touched by the left front headlight of the Nissan car. It's a little knackered there. They're racing tough. Jan is doing his best to try to stay in front.
Imagine being a car length or two apart at about 140 miles an hour. That's what it looks like. And you can't see the track in front of you, undulating as this Sears Point International Raceway surface does. You've really got to have a lot of faith in the guy ahead of you.
Well, that's true, and you can also your rhythm in the race course. You kind of know where you are, and you got to trust the guy that he's also going in the right direction as well. He can see it. Chip can see enough of the race course to know exactly where he is at any time.
Now here is where the contact came in the last lap. Let's see if it happens one more time.
Jan's going tight into that corner. It's not the fastest line, but it's one that protects his position. And he's holding up Chip, as you can see, going into that corner. Into the S's. Jan's pulling it out because Chip just couldn't quite get the acceleration off of that turn 7. There they are into 10, now down to 11, and you'll see all action taking place down here.
As Robinson looks to the outside, maybe he'll try to get underneath this time. Coming off of turn 11, he gets up. Looks like he's got a door next to him, and I think he's got the position as they come at you. No, Lammers is going to hang on. They're going to go door to door into turn 1. Robinson decides discretion is the better part of valor and drops back into the position one more time.
It's rare that you can pass somebody on the outside, especially if you're as evenly matched as these two cars are. It was a smart move on Chip just to hold off.
Whoa, Lammers that time pulled up on the wrong side of a Camel Lights car. Didn't see him coming. The Nissan now has the momentum, and quickly Chip Robinson takes advantage and squeezes by into second position.
You can bust stuff if you go off a course that hard. He might have hurt the car a little.
Squeezed off in the turn 3A area by a slower car. Let's take another look at what happened to Jan Lammers, as he might have had his eye on his own mirrors to see where Chip Robinson was going. Robinson quickly opening up a gap. Lammers no doubt checking his dashboard to see if everything's still working.
The Camelite car was in the right. He was holding his line. He was taking a turn as it was his turn. Jan was coming up a little tight, trying to get in underneath him.
And Robinson never lifted, knew the opening was coming because Lammers was going to have to get out of it when he got up on the rumble strip. And so Chip Robinson takes over the position and quickly opens up a big gap. You have Nissan now running first and second, Brabham and Robinson.
Jan was trying to maintain his position, and the Camelite car was right where he should be. There was no problem in a Camelite car. Jan went up and bounced off the curb a little.
And now, without the Jaguar in front of him, Chip Robinson from Old Bridge, New Jersey, has the opportunity to try to close down the 20-second gap to his teammate, Jeff Brabham. There you see the leader, Brabham, in the identical number 83 car, running out of turn 6 and on to the straightaway, which is made up of a quarter-mile drag strip here at Sears Point. At least one end of it is home of an NHRA national event, but today it is Camel GTP Racing. Brabham and Robinson make it a Nissan 1-2. Point International Raceway, where Jeff Brabham circulates in the lead. It's a Nissan 1-2, the 83 car of Brabham and the 84 car of his teammate Chip Robinson. Let's take a look at our Volkswagen mid-race report, brought to you by the German-engineered Volkswagens and your Volkswagen dealer. The leader at halfway, Jeff Brabham, 32 with the 50 laps run to that point. 3 leaders and 3 lead changes. Jaguar, Robinson in the Nissan, and Brabham in the Nissan. Of the 26 cars that started, 20 remain in the race, 6 of them on the lead lap. Cars out of the race. Willie T. Ribbs was in and out and in and out. They changed the intercooler, send him back out. He's now out of the race. The 9 Lights car of Morgan and Hessert and the number 5 car submitted by the Italian Motor Racing Federation to give a couple of young Italian drivers a start. Anton Ferrari and Stefano Livio have retired that car. The Datsun Ramsey machine, Sutcliffe and Dow, and the Roca Lopez Lights machines also out of the race today. Well, now with 2 shots at their manufacturer's championship, a second place would do it for Nissan. The title they lost by 1 point a year ago. Right now they have Brabham in first, Robinson in second. But if you were with us in San Antonio a week ago, you know what can happen. Late in the race with about 20 minutes to go in San Antonio, Jeff Brabham popped an engine, which doesn't happen often to this electromotive team, and he dropped out in the lead. Robinson was there to gather up his first solo victory for his new Nissan team. So anything can happen right down to the checkered flag. Right now running first and second. There is a 4-point split between first and second place. We have a car off the racetrack in the background. That 4-point split would not be enough to put Jeff Brabham back into the points lead. He would trail teammate Robinson by 1 point. Now here is the number 6 machine. This is a reconditioned Porsche 962, an air-cooled single turbo model, been restored from the ground up by Bruce Canepa, famous for the luxurious and very efficient transporters he builds for racing teams. Just about anywhere you go, in Indy cars, IMSA, NASCAR, you name it, the transporters are usually built by Bruce Canepa. He now has a 962 and he's racing with Greg Pickett today.
This is the first a big car race that Bruce has done in 7 years. He was a very prominent 935 driver in the old days, and Bruce is out trying to find out. He's based not far from here, and he's out running around having a good time. The car is beautifully restored, actually. It's an old Hobart chassis. Really quite a striking paint scheme, and a good bunch of guys. They're having a lot of fun this weekend, keeping themselves out of trouble, except for they must have knocked into something and have that little nose piece flopping around.
With a little black eye on the right side, running well back in the pack at this point, but as Rob mentioned, they're learning by doing here at Sears Point. Meanwhile, up front, here's a guy and a team that has it all knackered at this point. Jeff Brabham and the Electromotive Nissan crew. Should he hold on, this would be his 18th victory over 2 seasons and setting a new IMSA record for success.
Take a look at the driver's door. It looks like it's a little bit ajar. Kind of interesting. It looks like it isn't closed properly. If you get a little closer, maybe we can see that on one of the corners. Looks like it just isn't closed as much as it is, but the car is beautifully prepared. These guys really know how to put a car together.
Now we have a yellow flag at the start-finish line. It'll be a full course caution, and there's the reason. The number 34 car being shared today by Scott Atchison and Switzerland's Bernard Santal has gone dead on the racetrack, and they're going to have to get a tow truck out there to get it out of a hazardous position. As you can see, there's no runoff area on the right. The racetrack runs right up to the Armco barrier, so we have a full course caution, and that is a break for just about everybody except Nissan. They've made their pit stops. They're running with a big lead over the rest of the field, and now they're going to bunch them back up together.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with the Scott Schubert-Linda Ludeman combination, to see if at this time they make the shift to get her in the car.
All of the lights teams will be making driver changes today, and this will be a great opportunity for them to do it. We'll keep an eye on the pit lane and let you know what happens. We're going to take another quick timeout, and we'll return to the Camel GTP Grand Prix at Sears Point, California. Over the top of the hill comes the pace car, Jeff Brabham. Behind him, Jim Downing in the number 63 machine, presently shown in 3rd position in class after he slowed a few laps ago. We'll be back to sort out all of our leaderboards when we return to Sonoma, California in just a moment. Raceway under caution. The number 4 car, the leader in Camel Light, Scott Schubert, has pitted as we expected. Linda Ludeman will be getting into the car. Rick is there.
Now the question is, what kind of strategy is the team going to use this week? Last week at San Antonio, they put Linda Ludeman in during the full course yellow. She ran for the necessary 2 laps and then came back in, handed back over to Scott. Now she is in the car going back out, and the question is, how long will she stay in the car?
Well, we'll keep an eye on that situation. They are the leaders in class. Schubert is the leader in points, looking for his first Camel Lights championship. With 60 laps completed of 75 anticipated, Linda Ludeman, and she is no slouch out there, folks. In a race a couple of weeks ago in Topeka, Kansas, in the first practice, she was the fastest Camel Lights car on the racetrack. got her love of racing from her father. They did some autocrossing in Florida as she was growing up. She decided to go to driving school, get her license, and in the past few seasons, she has really come on strong. A fixture in the Camel Light Series. In fact, she's been driving manual shift race cars longer than her teammate Scott Schubert, who I understand just learned to use a clutch about 4 years ago.
Unbelievable. You know, everybody rises to the occasion, and Scott Schubert did to go to driving school, apparently, and finally learned to drive a stick shift automobile from Linda. She can learn something from him around getting around this course, because he's done a good job today. And if she just keeps her nose clean, she should be able to get a good result for the team.
They are a privately funded operation coming out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They are boyfriend and girlfriend. Earlier this season, I made the mistake of saying that they were engaged to be married, and all of their friends called them up. There you see Howard Katz out of New York driving Jim Downing's car. Talk about guys that don't drive much. I think Howard, the story on Howard is he doesn't have a street car. He lives in New York. You can ride the bus or the subway. The only time he gets behind the wheel is when he gets into a race car. And it's interesting, too, that the number 63 machine here is leading all cars in the Camel GT toward a $30,000 bonus for the car that covers the most laps in competition, with the exclusion of the 24 hours of Daytona and 12 hours of Sebring. This car has covered more ground than Nissan, than Jaguar, than Toyota, and they lead by 25 miles with more than 3,500 racing miles covered in the 1989 campaign. That $30,000 posted by the Kodak people. And right now, Jim Downing and his team stand to reap a tremendous bonus if they can just keep rolling.
We won that trophy last year, and I can tell you it's a great energizer for the crew when you win an award like that. It shows a level of preparation and proficiency in the crew as well as the drivers. It's a great award.
We remain under caution here at Sears Point after the car of Scott Atchison and Bernard Santal pulled off on the racetrack. The number 63 car is running second in class, although I would guess they might be first now after the pit stop by the Schubert Ludeman Buick Spice. We'll just have to wait and see once we get back to green flag conditions and we can update our leaderboard. Getting back to Howard Katz and Jim Downing. As far as Jim is concerned, the race for the Camel Lights Championship may already be over. And here's a Mazda page from our book on the contenders. In 1988, Jim Downing nearly accomplished what no driver ever has, winning a Camel GT championship without winning a single race. He came up just short, losing the title to Tom Hessert in the final race of the season at Del Mar, California. In 1987, Downing, who suggested and named the Lights class for smaller, non-turbocharged cars, won his third consecutive championship with just one victory at Portland, Oregon. In his campaign to reclaim the title this season, Downing knew the make-or-break race would come at Portland.
This track had predicted the winner of the GTP Series for many years. You won here, you're going to win the series. Well, the 3 previous years, I'd won here. 3 in a row, and I'd won the series. And last year, I lost here, and I lost the series. So I'm taking this weekend real seriously, and I'm not superstitious.
As the 1989 season draws to a climax, Downing is in a 4-way fight for the championship, having driven his admittedly down-on-power Mazda to 2 victories at Watkins Glen, New York, and at Portland. The final standings will prove whether Portland is the championship make-or-break victory Jim Downing, father of the Camel Lights class, thinks it is. And meanwhile, up front, we have a battle for second place. The 84 Nissan of Chip Robinson now has the retired, and by that I mean new tires on all 4 corners, 61 turbocharged Jaguar right behind him. Jan Lammers now says, hey, I've got the tires that I wanted in the first place. Let's see if I can take that position back from you. They're into turn 7. Meanwhile, Linda Ludeman has pitted and let Scott Schubert bat into the car, as we suspected she might after making the required 2 laps by a Camel Lights co-driver. Schubert is back in the car, although he runs 3rd place in the class at best at this point as a result of making that quick stop. 2 stops, I should say. Howard Katz has taken over for Jim Downing, and he runs 12th overall, 1st in class over the number 55 car of Leutwiler, Marvin, and Roca.
Chip is following the same line that Jan was earlier on. It's kind of ironic, the change of events here. They probably put a fairly soft set of tires on Jan to make sure that he could go for broke here, only a few laps left in the race, and we can keep running. And with 61 laps completed, it'll be interesting to see whether the tires hold up on Lammers, and see how his carbon fiber brakes work as he tries to overtake here.
We heard earlier Bryce Cobb say that his Dunlops went off after 7 laps early in the race. If that's the case, Jan Lammers may have to get his pass accomplished quickly, because we have at least twice that remaining in the race here at Sears. And so we're going to have to see a pass from the Jaguar, and it's not going to happen now. Not going to happen now, as the 83 car of Jeff Brabham makes his way through in the lead. I thought that might be the 84 and that we might have lost the Jaguar. There is Scott Schubot trying to make up ground in the Camel Lights class. Let's go down to Rick DeBrule in the pits.
Linda Ludeman is not getting a lot of track time in, but she is becoming one of the best pit stop persons around. You have changed twice. You ran the two laps that were necessary to make it official. Was that the plan from the start?
Well, it was either going to be that plan or I'd go in and do the last few laps. It was just a matter of the way that the race unfolded. And when we had that yellow, it was a really handy time to stop and get the mandatory driver change done.
You did it, and Scott Schubot is back out.
Linda Ludeman will certainly have her day in a race car. She is a class act.
None the worse for wear, and 2 laps here at here around Sears. Under the yellow, that's not too physically demanding.
Now we've gotten a preliminary indication that the 61 car is being cited for passing under the yellow flag before the green flew, with about 15 laps to go. So we'll have to see whether or not they call in the 61 car. Let's see if we can find out more from Marty Reed.
Guys, it's absolutely correct. That's exactly what happened. We were watching here on the restart, and we wondered if the green flag had come out early, because you could see the 61 Jaguar take a few spots, and boy, IMSA jumped on it right away, and they will be bringing him in for a black flag stop-and-go penalty.
Well, that'll be the end of the battle between the 84 Nissan of Chip Robinson and Jan Lammers in the 61 Jag for a while. There you see Lammers making his way around. No doubt he has since been told that he is going to have to come in, and he has lightened up a little bit. Through the S as he comes, heading down to turn 9.
When a driver hears he's got to come into the pits for a stop and go, that's like being told that's getting the air deflated out of your tires in a literal sense.
Here he comes onto the pit lane. Now this ought to be real interesting to watch. If he's angry enough, you may see a real fireworks display here when the IMSA officials turn Jan Lammers loose once again.
There you go.
Well, I wouldn't exactly call that a stop and go, but he lights them up like a top fuel dragster and heads back down the pit lane at probably something well in excess of 110 miles an hour. And off into turn 1 he goes one more time, well out of his 3rd place position behind the leading Nissans of Jeff Brabham and Chip Robinson. We'll be back at International Raceway in the hills of Sonoma, California. Bob Barsha, Rob Dyson, Rick DeBrule, and Marty Reed with you for the Lincoln Mercury California Camel Grand Prix here on ESPN. Your leader is the number 83 car of Jeff Brabham, followed by Chip Robinson and a sister machine as Nissan rolls on toward a possible manufacturer's championship today. Jochen Maas and Dominic Dobson share the 3rd place Porsche, followed by the Jaguar, the normally aspirated machine, with John Nielsen at the controls. Costas Los has a V8 powered Pontiac Spice into 5th position, followed by Jan Lammers after that stop and go penalty in 6th, and 1 lap down, Juan Manuel Fangio in the number 98 Group C Toyota. Let's go down to Marty Reed in the pit lane.
Well, I'm standing here with Don Devendorf. He's writing down the last lap times from both machines. I'm going to try and get a word from Don. What will be the strategy if the 2 cars get nose to tail?
Just hold on a second.
Okay, he's doing a lap separation back to 3rd place. We'll give him just a second here. Writes down plus 16. So now what will be the strategy if they get nose to tail?
I can't hear you.
What will be the strategy if they get nose to tail?
Basically, the guys in the lead is going to just lead the race. We're not trying to take anybody out. Just win the race and maintain our positions.
So Chip has to finish 2nd then, the way it stands?
Well, I think it's going to be self-evident. They're both at the same kind of speeds, and somebody have to probably take somebody else out to pass, and we're not going to take that chance.
Okay, so there you have it. It's going to be this way as you see it.
That's the way to do it. As a car owner, you tell the boys what to do, and by golly, they're supposed to do it. And that is apparent. I think it would be difficult for Chip, frankly, to catch him.
We had a car off the racetrack there. I believe that was the number 19 car, Ferdinand DeLessep and Jay Cochran, the Buick-powered Taiga racer.
And it kind of slipped around on the inimitable turn 7.
Jeff Brabham trying to make it all moot. In an interesting season for the Nissan team. They ran so strongly earlier this year at the 24 Hours of Daytona. They won the 12 Hours of Sebring, eliminating that last knock against the Nissan as perhaps a sprint car more than a long-distance endurance sports racer. They have won everything just about that you can win except a 24-hour race, and they may well take care of that fairly soon. Now here is a dice, the number 33 machine of Costas Los, being pressed by the 2 Jaguars in 4th and 5th position.
The interesting thing here is to see the difference between the acceleration of the normally aspirated Jaguar and the Turbo Jaguar. The Turbo Jaguar is the car that's right behind. I guess it would be John Nielsen.
Nielsen in the 61 car, the 12-cylinder 6-liter Jaguar right there at the bottom of your picture, followed by the other machine, subtly different in aerodynamics, and underneath the engine hood even more dramatic differences, a 3-liter twin turbocharged V6. Up front there you see the teammates, Jeff Brabham to the right, Chip Robinson to the left. And as they continue to run in lockstep in the closing laps of today's race, we'll take another quick timeout and be back in a moment. Position to pick up a manufacturer's championship for Nissan today and in the next race perhaps at Tampa, Florida, or in the final event of the season in Del Mar, California, to pick up a driver's championship for either Brabham, the defending champion, or Nissan, who won the title in 1987. Meanwhile, problems for one of the great crowd favorites in the field, the number 33 Pontiac Spice. Let's get down to Marty Reed.
Well, it looks like the day is going to be over for Costas Los and the team because they looked up inside. The cooling system is all smashed up in the radiator section, and Costas is climbing out of the car, so the day is done.
Yeah, he got hit hard enough to bust the nose up, and in these cars with the water cooling up front, that's a pretty vulnerable area for these cars, and it can get punched up pretty easily.
Tough break for Julian Randles and Costas Los. They have run so well today. They were up in the top 5 at one point, running without the turbocharged horsepower that makes these Nissans and Porsches and Jaguars and Toyotas so dominating.
Chip's car is quicker than Jeff's.
And so we'll see if they will test their team manager Don Devendorf's instructions. He said that they will finish in the order that they are running and not risk knocking each other off because the cars are so close in performance. Let's go back to Marty.
Well, we're with Costas Los, and Costas, I know you're very disappointed. The team, you were in the top 5 at one point, running very well. What happened?
Well, I had a puncture to start with, and this guy up here just spun broadside right in the carousel. I was like tailing him real close, nothing I could do. But that guy, he saw me coming, he takes the racing line. He knows I was racing with the other guy, so I don't know what the hell he was playing at.
Obviously, very upset Costas Los as the team is out of this race.
Well, racing is an emotional sport, and there's a good example of it. You don't want to be taken out of a race, especially this late in the event. It's too bad.
3 laps remain. And I would be remiss if I did not mention that all of us at ESPN are happy that our senior producer for Motorsports, Neil Goldberg, and wife Laura recently welcomed young Joshua Richard into the world. Mother and son are doing fine. Continues to lead. Behind him, teammate Chip Robinson. They have been given team orders, as you heard, from team owner Don Devendorf to finish in this order with 2 laps remaining around the 2.5-mile Sears Point International Raceway circuit. And it looks as though that's the way it will be.
They're following team orders, and that's the way you win championships, and that's the way you win manufacturers' championships as well. Everybody exists for everybody else on the team, and nobody takes front or back seat. This is the way it was set up to be, and you maintain that, and that's the discipline that you've got to have in a team that's with Nissan's proven proficiency. They've done a good job today.
Well, you touched on the important thing there, with a lot of money being invested and a lot at stake in these manufacturer and driver championships. You don't want embarrassing mistakes on national TV, especially. Speaking of national TV, you hop aboard with Jeff Brabham, your chauffeur. Clear track in front of him as he goes down through the S's, approaching turn 9 right here, and then the trickiest and probably the fastest turn on this racetrack. Here is turn 10. Let's pull about 2.5 G's with Jeff, and then down the backside as he reaches over a little bit tweaks one of the dials.
His speed, they're not slowing down very much versus their race speed, if at all. You lose your rhythm to such a degree. It's the wind whistling by the body work or whatever. You want to make sure that you maintain that speed to keep your rhythm up. Otherwise, you can get into big trouble. As you go slower, you can get more screwed up. So they're staying at a pretty good race pace.
Unofficially, last lap here at Sears Point. We anticipate a checkered flag next time around. Should they finish in this formation, Chip Robinson in the 84 car will be second and will maintain his points lead by 1 point over teammate Jeff Brabham. Between them, they will move well out in front of Bryce Cobb of Jaguar, and it will be an intramural Nissan battle for the Drivers' Championship. It'll be coming your way from Tampa or Del Mar, depending on what happens. And it looks like it's going to be another exciting conclusion to the Camel GT season here on ESPN. Brabham has the headlights on. Robinson behind him does not. But they only need to negotiate the backside of the 2.5-mile Sears Point Raceway before they will earn a well-deserved checkered flag. Somewhat reminiscent of the team finishes at Le Mans and some of the great European venues. No way to display your domination any better than to finish breezing first and second, as though that's the way it was meant to be all the time. And in the past 2 seasons of Camel GT racing, sometimes it seems like that's the way it was meant to be. New cars coming for Team Nissan next year. In fact, there's a rumor afoot that you might be able to purchase one of these cars when they bring the new ones out, if you have a pretty safe checkbook. The checkered flag flies, and Jeff Brabham has won the 10th race of the season for the Electromotive Nissan team. Chip Robinson finished a tight second, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see that picture in your local enthusiast magazine sometime in the very near future. Another terrific performance by the Nissan team. A wave from one driver to the other on a job well done, and we'll be back to meet our winner in just a moment.